would not live.
Did you lose a kidney?
No, I didn't. They actually did come back, but they said that I had less than a 5% chance of living. And
my God!
Real close. And so that was real hard for him. And he came home, and then his fiancée broke up with him.
The first
supposed
day
to get
he
married.
got home.
They're supposed to get married in July. This is June.
Did that have anything to do with all this weirdness in Germany?
Well, I think he got drinking, so he went through.
Did the breakup have anything to do with it?
Yeah.
No, it was just...
She wasn't upset with him because he was allowing himself to be abused by these Masons and these army Masons.
No.
She was back home and she found other interests and other people that...
She fell in love with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, this happens.
But when they go through ASAP or any kind of an alcohol treatment program, nobody's supposed to take them out.
Out of the treatment program.
Right. So he finished the treatment program, but his sergeants were not supposed to take him out drinking. And supposedly, the night of the Mason hazing, they went to the gym.
After it was all over.
They do something called the 5 libations during the hazing, where they take you outside and you have a choice of drinking alcohol or juice.
Juice,
and there were 3 inductees.
Juice is what, like diesel or something, like gasoline?
Yeah, like apple juice.
No, yeah, but it's not ordinary juice, Dee Dee. This is something else.
Oh, no. This is just regular apple juice or something. Just if you didn't drink alcohol, and all it was, they said, was like a jigger to a jigger and a half. And they said Anthony was not drunk when he came, and everybody that was there said that none of them were. Then they did these libations. Anthony and another guy took a jigger and a half of Bacardi rum. The other guy took juice. Then they finished beating them, and then they left. Later that night, an MP drove by the school, and she found 2 people. One soldier passed out in the truck, and one passed out in front of the school. And the one that passed out in front of the school had juice. He didn't have any alcohol at all. And he woke up the next morning, he stated, between 4 and 5 on his sergeant's couch and has no idea how he got there.
Well, what caused him to pass out? If he drank the juice and if the juice was clean. See, they could have had, they could have had like this date rape drug, or something like that in the juice. I mean, this is date.
No one did any investigation to find out.
No.
Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, you don't pass out from drinking apple juice.
Absolutely not. And this MP, she wasn't questioned until, 10 months or so after Anthony's death. And one of the things then that they said that Anthony did, these other 2 guys went home with different sergeants. One took one home and put him on his couch. They took Anthony, they said, his one sergeant and a specialist that sponsored him, took him out clubbing that night in his winter PTs and your physical training clothing.
Yeah, what was the weather like there?
Well, in Germany, it was very cold, but you can't wear in a nightclub a nice place. They will not let any military personnel wear any kind of military uniform because there's rivalry between the different military
factions, and they don't want to have fights break out and furniture broken and lose business and blah.
There were a couple Turks. There's some Turks apparently earlier that had put the date rape drug in some soldiers' alcohol, and then put them on a train track, and the train ran over them. And so anyhow, we said Anthony wouldn't go out that way. He wouldn't go out that way. And when they did go to the different bars and check, some of the bars knew our son, and they didn't see him, and they said they wouldn't allow anybody at PT Club.
Dee Dee, stand by. We're going to take a brief break. This is Jim Fetzer, your host on The Real Deal, with my special guests Dee Dee and Tony Wilder. We'll be right back. This is Jim Fetzer, your host on The Real Deal, with my special guests Dee Dee and Tony Wilder, and we're talking about the death of their son Anthony, who became involved, although he was a great fit for the Army, he became involved with an odd subculture within the Army involving the Masons, and was going through several series of hazings that his sergeants insisted were necessary if he was ever going to get promotions and commendations. And I think that Anthony just took it hook, line, and sinker and, suffered the consequences. Dee Dee, you were telling us more about what happened to him here with this third-degree hazing.
Well, after the hazing, now this is what a specialist and a sergeant that were Masons said. And then later I'll tell you some things that we found out. They said they took him out clubbing for about an hour or so, and that he drank some alcohol, and that he was in his winter PT clothes, but, they don't let you wear any kind of uniform in any of the bars. And then after about an hour...
You're saying the winter PT clothes were sufficiently identifiable as military that it would have been the equivalent of violating the clothing policy for the...
Absolutely, and that wouldn't have been our son anyhow, because he kind of liked everything really perfect,
Yeah.
These bars were not dives. They were nicer places where people got dressed up a little nicer.
Were they somehow setting him up by taking him in there that way?
No.
Okay.
We don't think so. And what CID kind of later figured out. Well, anyhow, the two other Masons said that he got a little drunk, started to throw up, so they decided to take him back to the barracks. He said, "I'm too sick to go to my room. Please do not leave me alone." So they took him to the barracks of the specialist. They stripped him naked, totally naked. No dog tags on either. Put him in the shower, washed him off. Now, this is January 8th in Germany, and it is cold. And they left him wet in a fetal position sitting up in the shower.
All night long.
All night long. They said that they checked him every 20 minutes, and they checked his pulse. Now, why did they check
Well, what in God's name were they doing leaving anyone in the shower for all that time?
I don't know.
And the other thing is, what 22-year-old male will totally strip down a friend and put him in the shower and shower him off? That just doesn't happen, Jim.
Well, if he barfed all over himself or something, you could see that you might do this to get him cleaned up, but you wouldn't leave it there. You wouldn't leave it there.
All he did was throw up on his jacket.
I could see them putting him in a shower and washing him off, but I don't know of any, and I've talked to a bunch of my friends, and I don't know of anyone that would strip someone down totally naked.
It's pretty strange, I agree. Go ahead.
Well, they didn't provide him with a towel or blanket or anything. They just left him. They said that they checked him every 20 minutes.
Well, who wants to go back and check a guy in the shower every 20 minutes? I mean, you got better things to do.
Exactly, but they said they did, and that he didn't move, so they checked his pulse. Now, that's weird, too.
But never called a doctor or anything.
He didn't move.
On a couch.
They didn't have any reason to think he was seriously ill, other than that he said he was too sick, meaning from alcohol, to go back to the barracks.
Right, and they had to drag him up 2 flights of stairs to put him in this other specialist's room.
Yet they're checking his pulse throughout the night to make sure he's still alive.
It just doesn't make any sense at all. The whole thing's ridiculous.
No, and so at about 11:40, it depends who you talk to, because everything's different.
11:40 p.m. a.m.
a.m.
So he's been all night in the shower?
12 hours.
12 hours in a shower?
Wet, cold.
And the water, is the water warm water, cold water?
Well, they washed him off and then left him, so he was just wet. And the window was open. We don't know how long. It depends which report, but the window to outside was open, and it was like 28 degrees outside in Germany that day.
That's below freezing.
Yeah. So they went in, they checked him. He was stiff and blue, and so they ran down, got the CQ, and then the Germans were the first responders. When the Germans responded, they could not figure out why they didn't put him on a couch, covered on a couch, and why they didn't get medical aid to him. And they said that if they could charge him, they would charge them with aggravated assault with a death result. But because of the SOFA Act, the Army took over.
The SOFA is some agreement with the other nations that that any death involving American military is investigated by the American military?
Correct. That the military would investigate.
Yeah, right.
The minute CID walked in, they said, according to our documents that we got through the Freedom of Information Act, the CID said, he's a known drinker.